Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. Friend of mine, former capo regime with the Colombo crime family. He's now a pastor. He's an author and an amazing influencer as well online. It's Michael Franzese. Michael, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to be back, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So we're watching this all unfold, and something jumped out at me the other day. I said, I've got to get Michael on about this. When you were in that life, and the boss was in the background. The boss didn't want to be, well, except for like Gotti. But before that, the boss really didn't want to be seen. The boss didn't want to be flashy and draw a bunch of attention. It seems to me our government acts that way too. We don't really know who the bosses are. Then they put dumb people like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris out front. I mean, am I following you right? It's sort of the same thing, isn't it?
Well, it really is, Joe, and that's why I keep saying we have a mafia democracy in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing the just how untransparent these people are. He said it was going to be they said it was going to be the most transparent administration ever.
Right.
And I think it's the most secretive that we've ever seen. We don't know who's calling the shots. We don't even know really who's president. I mean, he's there maybe in name only.
Well, Michael, it's not him, and many assume that this is the third term for Obama. But it's got to be Obama at that table. The cabal has to be the Clintons. You've got to figure out that Soros is at that table. When you were in that life trying to figure out who it was that was pulling the strings, maybe in some organization that was doing something that you guys didn't like, how did you figure out who was pulling the strings? Could you?
Well, you know, in our life, the boss was really the boss. He stayed low key. But obviously, he had influences on him, you know, from himself and maybe from the boss of another family. So sometimes when decisions came down, you weren't too sure, you know, if he acted alone, the boss, or he had other people telling him what to do, because sometimes the bosses would get together and they'd create a policy or something, and we wouldn't really know what was going on. You know, it was confusing at times.
Get his book. It's called Mafia Democracy. It's selling like hotcakes. Get his wine. Go get some pizza from his pizza places. But also follow Michael Franzese on all social media. Huge following on YouTube. Huge following over on X. Go and follow everything that he does. Every time I'm flipping through videos on social media, my friend, it's you every third video. Everybody wants a piece. Why do you think everybody's so intrigued by what it is that you did and the transformation that you've made? Why do you think that's so intriguing?
Well, you know, I think it is that, you know, people like to hear my perspective on things coming from that life and now coming, you know, being in the legitimate world. I have a different, you know, take and perspective on things. I think people are interested in that. You know, and I don't know, you know, I guess, Joe, because when you come out of a life like that and you're able to, you know, by the grace of God, you know, live a normal life, have a family, you know, be in business. It's, you know, for me, I'm just very blessed. And I think people see that and, you know, they're interested in what you have to say.
Go to michaelfranzese.com, FRANZESE.com. People say Francesco. People used to call my family the Pagliarulo family. I mean, people, if you got a long Italian name, people will screw it up, but it's Franzese. It's spelled exactly like it sounds. When I see you on with these people, they really want to know what that life was all about. And I know you and I have talked online and offline that you don't only want to be that. You want to be somebody who also uplifts, and you do that consistently every week, if not every day. There's always sort of a moral to the stories that you tell on your YouTube channel and in your books that you do. It's not about profiteering from the life. It's about showing people going from something that's untoward, something that you know now that you shouldn't have done, to somewhere where you can be redeeming. I'll never forget when you, Rudy, and I sat down, he said, I believe in redemption. And I think that you're living through that redemption. Does that describe it right?
Yeah, you know, Joe, and a lot of people face challenges in life, and some of them don't realize that no matter how bad your situation is, you know, there is a way out. And I think that people associate that life with death and prison and, you know, how you're going to ever get out of it.
Right.
And the fact that I was able to get out of it, you know, not enter any witness protection program or do anything like that, and to go on to have a meaningful life, I think that's encouraging to people that are going through challenges and struggles. And that's who I devote so much time to, you know, people that have come out of a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction or gambling or been through all sorts of trials in their life. And they see that you can succeed. And I tell them, if I can do it, you can do it. And it's an encouraging message. And, you know, I think I'm an example of that.
It is michaelfranzese.com. Go there. Go follow him on YouTube. An amazing following there. And again, the wine looks like it's selling very well. Your books are doing very well. Get Mafia Democracy. That's the latest book. Michael, I want to talk to you about the leverage game. I think that we always knew that Joe Biden was a lowlife. My word, not yours, but he's a bad guy. He's always been a bad guy, but he's kind of dumb. he must have leverage on people. And he actually told us between the time he was the vice president and became the president, when he had that sit down on video bragging to a crowd, that he told the Ukrainian government, I've got $1 billion in loan guarantees for you if you fire the prosecutor. If you don't, I'm getting on the plane in 6 hours and I'm out of here. And SOB, they fired the prosecutor. That was the first time we really, because again, I think the guy's always been a bad guy. But that was when he felt comfortable showing his hand and saying, this is what I did with leverage. That reminded me of the mob. Did that remind you of the same thing?
Yeah, Joe, I got to take it a step further. First of all, I give him the same name, a lowlife. I think Joe Biden is just a bad person.
Yes.
A really bad person. He's pathological, cannot tell the truth no matter what. He's a narcissist in many ways. A lot of times he'll throw his chest out, want to challenge people. It's ridiculous. Yes. And Joe, I will tell you this. I believe he's treasonous, 100%, because the information and the evidence that was uncovered by the GOP committee about his dealings with his son, with foreign entities, and all the money that came in on him, the guy was treasonous. He peddled his vice presidency. There is more information that they uncovered that qualifies for a RICO indictment. No question, Joe. I've had 3 of them. I understand what the what's necessary to indict him. As far as him being guilty, let him have his day in court. But I'm saying there is enough information there based upon the laptop, based upon the texts, the emails, the whistleblowers, the suspicious bank accounts, 20 some odd million coming into the family accounts. Right. This guy is treasonous. And, for that and for what he's done at the southern border, allowing these people to come in and wreak havoc, I'll say it worse than you, Joe. This guy's got blood on his hands. Yeah. He's a treasonous person. I don't give him a pass because even though there are other people pulling the strings, Joe, I have to say this, on the street, look, there was backstabbing and all that kind of stuff. Right. I have to say that, it wasn't the most honorable life all the times. But, we didn't take an oath to defend and protect, people that voted for us.
Right.
I look at him as worse than guys on the street because he took an oath to protect and defend the best interests of the people that voted for him and didn't vote for him, and also in the best interest of the country. And he's did just the opposite. I think Joe Biden's a horrible human being. I'll be honest. I don't give him a pass.
He describes this government so well in Mafia Democracy. Go and get Michael Franzese's book, Mafia Democracy, available everywhere. Go and grab it right now. Follow him everywhere. You're right, but let me ask you this, because when you were in that life, yeah, you guys did bad things, but there was always a reason that somehow enriched your family, somehow you guys actually made sure your neighborhoods were pretty safe, to be honest. When you see Biden letting people in across the border, and then Tren de Aragua, this horrible Venezuelan gang, taking over entire sections of Aurora, Colorado. They even found some here in San Antonio where I am. What possible purpose can there be to let bad people into your country that even if you're benefiting your family, but with 20 some odd $1 million, and there's probably a whole lot more than that, Michael, that we don't even know about. But how does he benefit whatsoever by turning a blind eye to bad guys taking over entire sections of cities in the United States? Can you figure it out?
No, I don't. He has total disregard for the people of this country. He never cared about them. He didn't open up the border for humanitarian reasons. He couldn't care of any of these people. Look, the guy disrespected, the Gold Star families. He didn't even reach out to them after he had 13 of their family killed, in Afghanistan. This is a cold-hearted, bad guy who doesn't care about anybody but himself. Look, even getting to the pardon of Hunter Biden, I understand that he pardoned his son. He's 82 years old. He don't want to be visiting him in prison. It is his son. But the fact that he lied about it so convincingly to people, and, that was for political reasons during the campaign, number one. And then the audacity to come out and say that his son was singled out because he was the vice president. It was his Justice Department.
Yes.
And after everything that he did for Trump, he has the nerve to say that. The guy takes zero responsibility. If he would have just came as a father and said, look, I'm sorry. This is my son. I can't let him go to jail. Everybody would have understood that.
Yes.
But the way he just turns everything around, never takes responsibility for anything. This is worse than the guys on the street because you said it. Look, we made money among each other. Sometimes we hurt each other, but our neighborhoods were safe, Joe. You didn't mess around in any of our neighborhoods. We respected the people there and we helped them. This guy just had no regard for anybody. I've never seen anything like he is just a bad guy.
And Michael, the pardon was for 10 years and 11 months. Anything his son did for almost 11 full years was just wiped clean. I think he thought he was pardoning himself because all the dealings in those 11 years included the big guy. Do you agree?
Oh, there's no question. For anything known or unknown, there was never such a sweeping pardon or forgiveness of anything ever in the history of this country. He did. He protected himself, obviously protected his son. And don't be surprised if he's going to start issuing preemptive pardons for all of these people that did all this dirty work. Joe, I have to take it a step further. People are saying that, Trump is going to go on a revenge tour. This is not revenge. This is justice and accountability.
Yes.
If he doesn't go after these people, then this is just going to continue. We can't allow our government to run wild like this. They have to be held accountable.
Michael, what would the mob have done had a foreign gang showed up and taken over an apartment complex in Brooklyn or the Bronx, wherever, or Long Island, wherever you happen to be based? What would you guys have done?
We would have rounded them up immediately and taken care of it. Let me tell you something, Joe. The FBI, when they were ready, and the Department of Justice, when they put the RICO statute into effect, they came after us like gangbusters, and they wiped out my former life. Right. I mean, they took so much power and control. They put all the bosses away. If Biden would order the FBI to go after these gangs, they can clean it up in a week. They don't want to. They don't care. I've never seen anything like this. These are unsophisticated gangs. They're not really sophisticated. They didn't have organization that we had. I mean, they can wipe these guys out in a minute, but they don't care. I've never witnessed anything like this in my life from a government. I mean, look, I don't live in a communist country, but you don't expect this kind of stuff in the United States.
Right.
Terrible.
It doesn't make any sense. It's Michael Franzese. Go to michaelfranzese.com. Go and get Mafia Democracy, the latest book. Get his wine. Go become part of his crew over at michaelfranzese.com. I want to revisit something you and I talked about before when it comes to Donald Trump. And people really think that he had to have been complicit with the mob to get all the development done he got done in Manhattan. And I want to bring something up that Sammy the Bull brought up, Sammy Gravano brought up. He said we could not get to Donald Trump. He was hiring former FBI agents to surround him. He was smart enough to keep us at arm's length. Now, he had to work with us, third party, but he was never complicit with us. We couldn't get to him. Is that your experience as well?
100%. Donald Trump was never associated with the mob. He had Roy Cohn as an attorney, and some of us used Roy Cohn. But I happened to meet Donald briefly in a private club when I went to see Roy Cohn because he was going to represent me on one of my cases.
Right.
And that was the extent of it. He was never involved with the mob in any way, shape, or form. He kept us at arm's length. Look, his company had to deal with us because we controlled all the unions, but that's just like Helmsley and Gutterman and every other developer in the city. He's no different, but he wasn't in bed with us in any way. We had nothing to do with him, and anybody that says anything different is just a lot of nonsense.
I mean, if you could have gotten him, you would have, but for some reason, he either outsmarted or stayed a step ahead, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't want anything to do with us. Look, he's a legitimate guy. He's a business guy. Everybody talks about, well, he had a bankruptcy. He's in business, I love what Donald Trump said. It reminds me of the movie The Aviator when, what's his name? Howard Hughes was talking. Right. And they were asking him, remember, well, did you bribe all of these officials, to get these big contracts in the aeronautical business? And he said, yeah, I did. He said, well, were they bribes? He said, well, I guess you can consider them bribes, but they weren't illegal. If you change the law, then I'll abide by it. Right. It's the same thing with Donald Trump. Sometimes you had to play a game a little bit, his company, maybe not him directly, but that's just the business. But he wasn't involved with us in any way, shape, or form. Sammy told the truth on that.
It's Michael Franzese. Go to michaelfranzese.com. Take in everything he does. And if you're flipping through your social media, every third interview is somebody who's waiting in line to talk to this guy for good reason. He's just that amazing. Former mob guy, now a pastor, incredible father, and he goes out there on the speaking tour. See him wherever he happens to be. I just wanted to get one word from you, if you don't mind, before we go, Michael, on Rudy Giuliani. I know that you and Rudy were adversaries for a very long time. You guys have become very friendly, and thankfully I was a part of that, and I was glad to bring you two together. When you see him walk out to a microphone and say, I can't pay my bills because of what they're putting me through. They've taken his law license away almost everywhere. I know that you always had a level of respect for Rudy because of what he was able to do legally. Had he cheated and stolen and done something bad, you would never have come around with him. Any thoughts on what he's going through right now, what Biden's administration has done to him?
I hate to see what he's going through. And this was a former enemy. The guy wanted to put me away for 100 years. But I was a bad guy at that time, and he was doing his job. It's terrible what they did to him. Absolutely horrible, because he was the first one that coined the phrase, the accurate and true phrase, the Biden crime family.
Right.
He uncovered it. So they went after him the same way they go after Trump and any one of their political adversaries. And I feel horrible. And I just hope Donald, when he gets in there, if he can pardon him. I don't know what he can do to help him, but he certainly should, because I can't even believe what they've done to this man. And this was a man who I had a lot of respect for. He was the best mayor of New York that we ever had, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he cleaned up that city in a way. He was great during, 2011, 9/11 rather.
Yeah.
It's a shame how they turned on him. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it's stunning because he was uncovering the truth, and that truth had to stay hidden. I think with Trump coming into office, hopefully he can help Rudy out. But as far as getting his law license back and stuff like that, I mean, these judges and these bars in these different states are all complicit with the left. Let me finish with this, Michael. There are a lot of pretenders out there, a lot of people who I think are imitating you. When you flip through social media, everybody's got a podcast. Everybody was a made man. Everybody was in the mafia. When you see stuff like that, I've actually seen some of them try to call you out, which doesn't make any sense because you're the real deal and it's all provable. Why do you think that is? Why is there such a hunger and thirst for mob stories? And B, why do people think who weren't really in the life that will believe that they were just because they said so?
Well, I don't know. Joe, I think the life is so intriguing to people, and that's thanks to the media and Hollywood and all the movies and everything else that have gone on. And look, people jump on the social media bandwagon. But, I have found out that social media has uncovered the lunacy in the world. There are some people out there, obviously they badmouth people. They think that's the way to get views on their channel. If somebody has a high profile, I ignore it all. I don't pay attention to it because every other day somebody is knocking me. And the funny thing, these are people I never even met in my life. I have nothing to do with them, didn't know who they were, had no business with them, no contact whatsoever. But they call you out like they're experts and they know everything. But, that's the social media. You got to have thick skin if you're going to be on it.
Well, listen, we love that you're out there. I love your friendship. Thank you so much for always making time for me. Go to michaelfranzese.com. Get his book called Mafia Democracy. Is it called Franzese Wine? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's Franzese Wine. You can go on franzesewine.com. We got a big Christmas special going on online now. So
can people still get it in time for Christmas?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Michael, thanks for making time today. I know that you're a little bit under the weather. Thank you for always showing up. I really do appreciate you, my friend.
Joe, anytime for you. You're the best, my friend.
All right, brother. We appreciate you. Merry Christmas. We're back after this. Stay right here.